All right, get this. We have a total lunar eclipse happening tonight.
Tonight?
Yeah, March 14th, 2025.
Wow.
And we are going to dive deep.
Okay.
Not only into how to see this blood-warm moon, but also how it might spark some serious personal transformation.
Interesting.
We're going to be using some cool astronomy facts alongside a really thought-provoking YouTube video by Victor Otto.
Okay.
Ready to see how this cosmic event could be like a mirror reflecting changes happening within you.
That's a great way to put it. This particular eclipse has a few unique elements happening at once.
Okay.
Which makes it extra special.
So let's break those down.
Sure.
First, we got the blood moon part.
Right.
Explain what causes that.
Yeah.
Because it sounds kind of ominous.
It does sound a bit spooky, right?
Yeah.
But the science behind it is pretty fascinating.
Okay.
It happens when the Earth passes directly between the sun and the moon. You know, you'd think the moon would just go dark, but instead it takes on this reddish hue because of how sunlight bends through the Earth's atmosphere.
So it's like a giant cosmic shadow puppet show, but with color?
Exactly. And because this eclipse coincides with March's full moon, which is traditionally called the worm moon, we get this double whammy name, the blood worm moon.
Okay, so about that worm moon, I know there is some debate on where that name actually comes from.
Yeah.
What have you found?
There are a few different theories,
Yeah.
which makes it even more interesting.
Yeah?
Some say it's rooted in Native American traditions,
Okay.
referring to earthworms emerging as the ground thaws in spring.
Interesting.
But others believe it might be connected to beetle larvae coming out of trees as the weather warms.
Oh, okay.
Either way, it paints a vivid picture of nature coming back to life,
Yeah.
which feels fitting for an eclipse that's all about change and renewal.
I like that connection, renewal.
Yeah.
And speaking of things that might be shifting, let's talk about Victor Otto's YouTube video.
Okay.
He has this really intriguing idea about how eclipses can actually trigger what he calls a nervous system upgrade. Almost like we are evolving along with the cosmos. What are your thoughts on that?
While the idea of a literal upgrade might sound a bit out there,
Yeah.
I think what Otto's getting at is this heightened sensitivity that we can experience during eclipses.
Okay.
Things that might have been simmering beneath the surface,
Yeah.
things that aren't serving us anymore, suddenly become much more obvious.
Yeah.
He talks about how he suddenly felt the negative effects of coffee, even though he had been drinking it for years.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people can relate to that experience of something suddenly feeling off, even if they can't quite pinpoint why.
Yes. He mentions this sensitivity showing up in different areas of life too, right?
Yeah.
It's not just about coffee.
Right.
It can be about relationships, careers, habits, pretty much anything.
Yeah. Exactly. It's like the eclipse acts as a magnifying glass, bringing those areas into sharper focus. And for those familiar with ancient cultures, this idea probably resonates. Eclipses have always been viewed as times of significant change and transformation, even upheaval.
Okay, so it's not necessarily that the eclipse is causing these changes,
Right.
but it's more like it's revealing what was already there.
That's a great point. Otto uses the analogy of grooves to
Okay.
describe these ingrained patterns of thought and behavior we all have.
Yeah.
It's like we get stuck in a rut,
Yeah.
doing the same things, thinking the same thoughts, and feeling the same feelings, even if they're not serving us anymore.
Yeah.
But the intense energy of an eclipse can shake us out of those grooves and give us a chance to see them objectively.
So it's like the eclipse is saying, hey, wake up. Take a look at what you're doing here. Do you really want to keep living this way?
I think that's a really powerful way to put it. It's a chance to step outside those familiar patterns and ask ourselves some tough questions. But here's where it gets interesting. The eclipse might illuminate the path, but it's up to us to decide what to do next.
That's a perfect lead in to where we're going in part 2. We'll explore Otto's advice on how to actually harness this eclipse energy for positive change and break free from those limiting grooves.
Welcome back. In part 1, we talked about how this bloodworm moon eclipse could be a catalyst for personal growth, revealing those areas in our lives that need attention. But now let's shift gears a bit. Before we dive deeper into Victor Otto's advice on navigating change, I know some folks are probably eager to get the practical details on how to actually see this eclipse.
Absolutely. Let's talk logistics. As we mentioned, this total lunar eclipse is going to be visible across a large swath of the globe.
Right.
But knowing when and where to look is
Yeah.
key.
Okay, so let's start with timing. When's the prime time to catch the main event, that dramatic blood moon effect? Mark your calendars for 2:26 a.m. Eastern Time on Friday morning.
Got it.
That's when the moon will be fully immersed in the Earth's shadow.
Got it.
And the reddish hue will be most intense. And here's the good news. Totality will last for a solid hour,
Oh, wow.
giving you plenty of time to soak it all in.
Okay, so even if you're not a night owl, you can still catch a glimpse.
Exactly.
Now, where in the sky should people be looking?
You'll want to look towards the west, generally speaking.
Okay.
However, to get a really precise idea of the moon's position from your specific location,
Yeah.
I highly recommend using a stargazing app.
Yeah, good idea.
There are some great ones out there,
Yeah, there really are.
like Stellarium or Sky Safari.
Oh, yeah, use those.
They're like having a personal planetarium in your pocket.
I love those apps. They're so handy for celestial events. And, reminder to everyone, unlike a solar eclipse, it's totally safe to look at a lunar eclipse with your naked eye.
Totally.
No special glasses needed.
Exactly. However, if you happen to have binoculars or a telescope, those can definitely enhance the view.
Oh, for sure.
But even without them, you'll still get to witness this incredible phenomenon.
So find a spot with a clear view of the western sky. Set your alarm for around 2:26 a.m. Eastern Time on Friday morning, and get ready for a cosmic show. Now, any pro tips for making the most of this eclipse viewing experience?
Here's a big one. Minimize light pollution. If you can get away from city lights, do it.
Good point.
The darker your surroundings, the more vibrant the eclipse will appear.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
I remember once trying to watch a meteor shower from my balcony in the city, and it was a total bust.
Oh, yeah.
Those city lights really drown out the subtle beauty of the night sky.
Exactly. So if possible, head to a park, the countryside, or even just your backyard if it's relatively dark. And if you're hoping to capture the eclipse on camera, there are a few things to keep in mind.
Ooh, yeah, photo tips. Because who doesn't want to try and snap a pic of this blood warm moon?
Right. If you're using your smartphone, you'll likely need a tripod and a special app to get a decent shot.
Okay.
There are some great astrophotography apps designed for taking those long exposure photos,
Yes.
which are essential for capturing images.
And if you have a DSLR camera,
Yeah.
even better. Just make sure you've got a telephoto lens to really zoom in on the moon.
Couldn't have said it better myself. It's worth the effort to capture this rare event. Remember, the last total lunar eclipse visible from North America was back in 2022.
Oh, wow.
These events are pretty special.
I'm so glad we covered those practical details.
Yeah, me too.
Now, as we talk about all these tips for viewing the eclipse, I can't help but think back to Otto's idea of a nervous system upgrade. It's almost like this eclipse offers two experiences in one: the visual spectacle and this chance for profound inner reflection.
It's such an interesting juxtaposition.
Yeah.
And while the scientific community might not use the phrase nervous system upgrade,
Right.
I think what Otto is tapping into is a very real phenomenon.
Yeah, eclipses have this uncanny ability to bring things to the surface, to shake up our usual routines and ways of thinking.
For sure.
It's almost like a cosmic invitation to pause, reflect, and perhaps even make some changes in our lives.
So even if you're not an astronomy buff, there's still something powerful to be gained from experiencing this eclipse. It's a chance to connect with something bigger than ourselves,
Right.
to tap into that sense of awe and wonder that the universe often inspires.
And let's not forget the communal aspect of it.
Yeah.
Imagine families and friends gathering outside together under the night sky, witnessing this incredible celestial event unfold.
Yeah.
It's a shared experience that connects us not only to each other, but also to something much vaster than our everyday lives.
I love that. A shared sense of wonder.
Yeah.
And even if you miss the peak of the eclipse, remember the whole process takes several hours. Even catching a glimpse of the partial phases is a special experience. Absolutely. Every stage of the eclipse is worth observing. It's a slow, gradual process that unfolds over time,
Right.
reminding us that change and transformation rarely happen overnight.
That's a great point. It seems like there are so many parallels between the eclipse itself
Yeah.
and Otto's ideas about personal growth.
Right.
This slow unfolding process of change, the letting go of what no longer serves us.
Yeah.
It's all mirrored in the celestial event itself.
It's like the universe is giving us a visual metaphor for what's happening within ourselves.
Yeah.
And now, in part 3, we're going to dive even deeper into Otto's advice on how to navigate these shifts.
Okay.
How to break free from those grooves that might be holding us back.
Right.
And how to truly embrace the transformative power of this eclipse. Stay tuned.
Welcome back to the final part of our deep dive into this bloodworm moon eclipse. We've explored the science behind this celestial spectacle, talked about how to see it, and even touched on Victor Otto's thought-provoking idea of eclipses triggering a nervous system upgrade. Now, let's get into the nitty-gritty of what to do with this heightened awareness,
Yeah.
this potential for change that Otto talks about in his video.
It's exciting, isn't it? We've got this cosmic event happening.
Yeah.
And it's like an invitation to look inward.
Yeah.
To see ourselves and our lives with fresh eyes.
But Otto doesn't sugarcoat it. He's honest about the fact that growth can be uncomfortable,
Yeah.
even downright messy at times.
Right.
He talks about sitting in the energy that has no meaning to you.
Right.
That phrase really stuck with me.
Yeah.
It sounds kind of daunting.
It is intense. And I think that's why it's so important to acknowledge that part of the process. We're talking about breaking free from old patterns,
Right.
from habits and ways of thinking that might have been with us for years, even
Yeah.
decades.
Yeah.
That kind of shift doesn't always feel good in the moment,
Right.
even if we know it's ultimately for the best.
He uses the example of feeling incredibly nervous flirting with a barista after leaving rehab.
Yeah.
It's like, here he is taking these brave steps to connect with people in a healthy way, but his body is still stuck in those old patterns of anxiety and fear.
That story really highlights the gap that can exist between who we are becoming
Right.
and who we've been conditioned to be.
Right.
And bridging that gap takes a lot of courage.
Yeah.
It's about consciously choosing to act in alignment with our values.
Yeah.
Even when those old feelings of discomfort are screaming at us to retreat back into the familiar.
So that's where Otto's advice to sit with the energy comes in, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's not saying to ignore those uncomfortable feelings or
Or
pretend they're not there,
Right.
but to acknowledge them, observe them.
Yeah. And ultimately not let them control us.
Exactly. It's about cultivating a mindful awareness of what's happening within us.
Yeah.
We notice the discomfort. Maybe we even name it. Fear, anxiety, self-doubt.
Right.
And we choose to act in spite of it.
Okay.
And the more we do this, the weaker those old patterns become.
Yeah.
It's like we're literally rewiring our brains, creating new neural pathways that support the person we're becoming.
He also emphasizes that it's okay to relapse into those old habits.
yeah, for sure.
That we're not aiming for perfection, but rather for progress.
Right.
So much of this is about approaching ourselves with compassion, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. We're all works in progress, and this journey of personal growth is lifelong. The key is to remember that each time we choose to act differently,
Yeah.
each time we step outside those limiting grooves,
Yeah.
we're strengthening those new neural pathways. It's a cumulative process, and every small step counts. And it seems like the energy of the eclipse itself
Yeah.
can actually help us in this process. It's like it's giving us an extra boost of awareness,
Totally.
making those old patterns more obvious so
Yeah.
we can choose to do things differently.
That's a great insight. It's like the universe is saying, hey, here's a little cosmic support for your evolution. And Otto even suggests that this eclipse can deepen our spiritual connection as well.
And again, he's clear that this doesn't have to be about organized religion or specific practices.
Right.
It's about exploring what gives us meaning and purpose, whether that's meditation,
Yeah.
spending time in nature, connecting with loved ones, or simply being more present in our everyday lives.
It's about nurturing that sense of awe and wonder that connects us to something bigger than ourselves.
Yeah.
And when we tap into that, it can give us the strength to face those uncomfortable moments.
Right.
To break free from those limiting patterns.
Yeah.
And to keep moving forward on this path of growth and transformation.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into this bloodworm moon eclipse,
Yeah.
I think the key takeaway is this.
Okay.
It's not just about the visual spectacle. It's about the invitation to look inward, to pay attention to those subtle nudges from our intuition,
Right.
and to have the courage to choose growth, even when it feels messy and uncertain.
And to embrace the mystery of it all. We might not always know exactly where we're headed, but that's part of the adventure. Trust the process, be kind to yourself along the way, and who knows what incredible transformations might be waiting just around the corner.
This deep dive has been truly inspiring. We hope you feel empowered to make the most of this eclipse energy. What resonates most with you? What are you feeling called to release? What new grooves are you ready to create? Thank you for joining us on this journey of exploration. Until next time, keep looking up, keep diving deep, and keep evolving.